Hello, come on in. We're going to get started momentarily. I know it's 7:01 and I am a stickler for liking to be on time. Wait maybe a couple more minutes just to make sure that we have those people that wanted to join. And today's topic is about if you are struggling with weight loss, what the potential culprit could be. So that's what we're going to be going over today. So I hope you all have some, paper so you can take some notes because this stuff is really important. And a lot of people really struggle with weight loss because of this particular thing that we're going to go over. So just kind of stick around, stick with me, stay engaged. I'm going to be asking you all some questions that you can just comment in the chat specifically about your weight loss goals and things like that, and some of the things that you may have been struggling with. And hopefully today's, lecture will help you to get to the bottom line of why you're struggling with weight loss. I'm a little hoarse today, so bear with me. It's this doggone Michigan weather. It don't know what it want to do. Either it want to be, rainy, like it was snow flurries. What was that, yesterday? And now today it's like cold. And then the other day it was almost close to 70. Like, this weather is ridiculous. But, it's to be expected if you live in Michigan. Okay, so today's topic, like I said, is about the potential thing that could be causing you to struggle when it comes with losing weight. Okay, so again, I hope you have a pen and some paper, so that you can take some notes or whatever, so that we can get to the bottom line as to why people are really struggling losing weight. So the first thing I want to remind you all that this is a judgment-free zone. We do not judge here. We ask questions. We try to, gain some insight, and that's what we do. It's a judgment-free zone. If you see me looking off screen, that's because I took a lot of notes that I want to make sure that I share with you all. And I have a tendency to get off script, if you will. So I want to make sure I stay on script by, making sure that I take care of these notes here. All right. So this session is for like new people or people who have been yo-yo dieting, or people who have maybe been dieting, saw some results, and then hit a plateau. And then for whatever reason, you are struggling trying to get back to the weight loss, area. So we're going to be trying to compare two different weight loss strategies that people use. One is a quick fix, which a lot of people use, and the other one is going to be science-based. Okay, so again, I want to make sure that you all are getting the best research-based information when it comes to losing weight. And I really hate that term, losing weight, because when we tend to lose things, don't we usually go around trying to look for it again? So I usually like to say release. We want to release it and let it go, right? We don't want to lose it because where are my keys at? Because we didn't lost them. So we don't want to do that. All right. So I want you to give me a high five or a hand in the chat if you've ever Googled how much weight or how many calories you should eat to lose weight. I want you to put that in the chat right now. Or you can just type yes. If you've ever Googled how many calories do I need to eat to lose weight, type that in the chat. Type yes, or give me a high five emoji or the hand raise emoji, something to that effect. Let me know. Again, if you've ever Googled how many calories you should be taking in to lose weight, let me know. Comment in the chat. So nobody's done that? Anybody at all? I went for a walk today outside, y'all, for about 48 minutes on this ankle. And this, it was cold and I didn't dress like I should. And so, yeah, I'm a little hoarse. All right. So let's go ahead and move on. So usually when people are on a weight loss goal or weight loss journey, they definitely do Google. They will, type into Google how many calories that they should be taking in. And Google will, of course, give them a general number. And then a lot of times people will try to stick with that number when they are trying to lose weight. But they really don't know what to do with that number. And then that number doesn't necessarily have to be accurate. Okay. So that could definitely be some of the problems that people are having. All right. So have you ever, and again, this should be a, back and forth. So I need to see some comments because I want to make sure that I'm on the right page, right? So I want to make sure that I'm giving you information that you, think is valuable. So the first thing is, have you ever seen people that go to a personal trainer, for example, and a personal trainer will give them a quote unquote diet kind of sort of, and the person will lose, let's say 20 pounds, 20 pounds, maybe 30 pounds, maybe not that much, but 20 pounds or so around in there, during the first month or so of that training program. But then after that, they kind of hit a plateau. Give me a thumbs up if you've ever seen somebody that does that or that has done that. Ever gone to a personal trainer and, they give them like a to-do or what you can and can't eat list, or they'll give you a specific diet and they'll tell you like on Monday, eat, 3 egg whites and an orange, for breakfast or something like that. Have you ever seen or heard anybody that kind of did that before? Any type of client or friend that has ever done that before? And then, what you'll notice is that, they definitely lost the weight. And then maybe you tried to do the same. And maybe you lost a few pounds starting off, but then after that it stopped. Have you all ever experienced that? And again, this is a judgment-free zone. So you can comment yes. Let me know you're out there. If not, then I'm just literally talking to myself. So again, maybe you've noticed or, a couple people that says, I work out with so-and-so and he gave me a diet and, I lost, 20 pounds during my first month or what have you. And then maybe after that, they hit a plateau or, a few months down the line, maybe they gain that weight back. Have you ever seen anybody that has done that or experienced that before? Anybody at all that maybe have experienced that before? So the reason being, oftentimes when you go to some of these personal trainers, what they're doing is they're trying to get you to lose as much weight as they can or as you can on the front end so that they can continue to have you as a client. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll continue to lose weight on the back end. Does that kind of make sense? So they'll have you lose, again, as the program that they're going to give you, they'll have you lose as much weight as possible that you can lose on the front end of your exercise program. But you don't lose it. They're not thinking about the long term or the back end. Okay, it's just because think about it like this. With personal training, clients are walking billboards, right? And so if you have a good experience starting off with your personal trainer, you're going to say, I hired, so-and-so and I lost 20 pounds. And then next thing you have people that's coming in and it's all about word of mouth. It's all about getting results. But sometimes those results are on the front end of the program only and not necessarily long term. And let me explain to you how that works. So this is where your pen is going to come in. So what tends to happen is that they'll ask you, what is your goal weight? So let's say you're 220 pounds and you say, well, my goal weight is to be 150. So what they do is they call it the rule of weight or weight times 12. So what you're going to do is what you would do is you're going to take the weight that you want to be and you multiply that by 12, and then whatever number you come up with is the calories that you're going to take in throughout the day. So that's what they do on the front end. However, by doing that on the front end, it's going to cause you to lose, a significant amount of weight on the front end. However, because you've lost that significant amount of weight on the front end, it's going to significantly impact you on the back end or the long term. Okay. So the reason being is because when you're just doing something like that, it's popular and it's going to get you to lose weight in the beginning. It's easy because it's a easy number for a beginner to remember. It's like, oh, well, I want to be 150 times 12. That's a simple number to remember. And it definitely tends to put people in a calorie deficit. And if you've ever heard anything about weight loss, you know that in order for you to, release weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. But the issue is they don't take into consideration how much of a deficit you're in, because that's where issues can arise when you're in so much of a deficit. Another con to this, weight times 12 is that it doesn't take into consideration your age. It doesn't take into consideration your gender. So men, for example, tend to need more calories than women do. It doesn't take into consideration your muscle mass, okay? Muscle is more metabolically active, so you're going to need some more calories for that. It doesn't take into consideration how much you move throughout the course of the day. Some of you could be marathon runners and need way more calories than what you're taking in. And then it doesn't take into consideration health conditions that you may have, like PCOS or, underactive thyroid or anything of that matter. It doesn't take into consideration any of those things. All it does is gives you a random number, and then you stick with it because it definitely causes you to have a calorie deficit. You lose weight and you think, okay, well, this is the plan. The problem with that is that it can also lead to extreme undereating, in terms of calories for a lot of different people, especially women who have those, thyroid issues and PCOS. And it can also lead to a quick burnout because you're not taking in a lot of different calories. So let me give you a quick example. So Sarah, for example, let's say weighs 200 pounds. Sarah wants to be 140 pounds. So if you do the math, it's 140 times 12. That equals 1,680 calories. So that's what she's supposed to take in the course of the day. The problem with this is that Sarah is extremely active. Sarah has kids. She works on her feet all day, which means that these calories that she's taking in is extremely too low for her. So this results in her being always hungry, okay? She's always moody, and she hits a plateau because she's not taking in enough calories, okay? Let me know if I'm making any sense right now. Let me know if this makes any sense to you. Let me know. Let me know if this makes any sense to you. Do you understand what I'm saying so far? Does this kind of make sense to you all? Have anybody out here tried to take in or eat more than 1,200 calories? Have you all tried to eat like 1,200 calories or less? If so, how did you feel when you took in 1,200 calories? How did that make you feel throughout the course of the day? Did you do it for multiple days or was it just one? Make sure I'm staying on task with my notes. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. The next section is what exactly is TDEE, which stands for Total Daily Energy Expenditure. So what exactly is TDEE? Well, TDEE is how can I explain what it is? It's a combination of things that work together to function in order for you to be able to digest your food, to be able to exercise, to be able to move about, as well as to be able to do day-to-day functions. Okay, so that's what TDEE is. And there are a variety of different components that make up TDEE. Okay, so I want to make sure that we are on that point. So TDEE is a combination of things that help you to digest your food, exercise, and just to literally function day to day. Okay, that's what TDEE is. So now let's break down what each component is. So the first component you have is BMR, or Basal Metabolic Rate. And that's what your body, how many calories or whatever that your body burns at rest. That's the bare minimum amount of calories that your body needs to help you stay alive. Okay, so that's what you need, the bare minimum at rest. Okay, and again, this makes up roughly 60 to 70% of your overall calories. Maybe I should make a chart. Maybe that would help. So we have a circle, and we have about, well, yeah, okay, maybe 60. Let's do 70. 70% is BMR. Okay, so we have 60 to 70% which is equivalent to your basal metabolic rate. And that's how many calories that you need in order to stay alive. So you definitely don't want to go below that. Your next is called TEF, which stands for thermal effect of food. So your thermal effect of food is the energy that you digest to absorb the food that you eat. So yes, you actually burn calories when you're eating your food. So sometimes when you get warm when you're eating, that could definitely be thermal effect of food. Okay. And so that accounts for about 10% of your TDEE. So let me do a 10%. And that's thermal effect of food. Okay, my handwriting is horrible, y'all, so you got to bear with me. Then the next component of TDEE is something called NEAT. Okay, so NEAT has to do with all of your daily activities that you do throughout the course of the day. So that could be your the steps that you take, the chores that you do, the walking that you do up and down the stairs or around your facility or what have you. So NEAT is the activities that you do. They're non-exercise activities that you do throughout the course of the day. So they're not like intentional. It's not intentional exercise, but it still counts as activity. And so this itself counts for somewhere between 15 to 30% of your overall energy expenditure throughout the course of the day. And then the last component is EAT, which is your exercise activity. So this is your intentional exercise that you do throughout the course of the day. And this can go anywhere from 5% of your overall percentage, but it can be as high as 15% in athletes. And this chart does not look anything like it's supposed to, but oh well. So out of all of the things that you could possibly change in your TDEE, the only things that's the most things that you could definitely swing the most is going to be your NEAT and your EAT. So your NEAT is your non-exercise activity. So for example, you can take the stairs instead of the elevator. You can park further away from the grocery store, stuff like that. So you can swing those percentages just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. And then you can definitely improve the EAT percentage by exercising more. So if you only exercise 2 days a week, you can exercise, 4 days a week. So that's going to increase that percentage up. So that's the only two that's going to be the most that you can kind of play around with in regards to numbers that's going to affect your overall, energy expenditure throughout the day. However, what you don't want to do is you don't want to affect that basal metabolic rate, because that is what's going to that's the calories that you need in order to survive, in order to stay alive. And so when you reduce your calories to the point where your body goes into like starvation mode, what happens is that you reduce your basal metabolic rate as well in order for you to conserve energy, which is not good. So your body thinks, okay, I'm starving, so I'm literally going to slow everything down, which is what you don't want when you're trying to, release weight or you on this weight loss journey. That's what you don't want. And sometimes that's what happens when you go on these extreme diets, or you reduce your, caloric intake so much to the point where now all of these other functions are affected. Okay. So I want you to think of your body like a business, okay? So your basal metabolic rate is the rent. You have your thermal effect of food, which is going to be your utilities. And then you have NEAT, your daily supplies. And then EAT is the expansion projects. So TDEE, it adds everything together. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. It adds everything together. So if your calories that you are consuming are way too low for your body, it's going to significantly impact your overall weight loss goals, which is why people tend to plateau, which is why people who start off with the weight times 12 rule, they start losing weight, nice in the beginning, but then after that, their weight significantly plateaus. And that's because they didn't kind of hit that threshold and their body doesn't want to do anything else additionally on top of that. So here's the thing. Your body is a pack rat. Okay. Your body is a pack rat, kind of like your cousin, kind of like my brothers, pack rats, right? They hold on to things that they probably should get rid of. The thing is that your body wants to significantly hold on to everything. And when you are not giving it enough calories, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to hold on to everything instead of trying to release it. which is a bad thing. So you definitely don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you know exactly how many calories you should be taking in for you. So when you go to a personal trainer, you should be having or dealing with a personal trainer that provides you with individualized, personalized programs. It should not be a cookie cutter approach because you are different from everybody else. You have different goals, different needs, different, issues or what have you that you may be dealing with that may be different from somebody else, which is why these cookie cutter approaches are not going to work. Another thing, when it comes to losing weight, it's kind of like you want to be like a thief in the night, kind of, sort of. And what I mean by that is you kind of want to sneak in and you want to lose the weight, and then you want to sneak out. So you want to kind of get in there, steal some pounds, and then sneak back out. And the reason being is because when your body loses weight too quickly, it sends off all these type of alarm bells, and it causes everything to kind of slow down, shut down, things like that. But when you do things slowly, then your body, I'm not going to say it's not aware, but it doesn't react the same way. So when you go on these extreme calorie deficit diets, what happens is you send off alarm bells, and that's why you tend to hit a plateau, okay? Because of not following the TDEE formula. So you tend to hit these plateaus, you send off all of these alarm bells, and then you significantly impact your overall metabolism. You end up slowing it down. So now your metabolism that used to be here, now it's here moving forward. And so you're wondering why I can't lose weight. Why am I always so tired? Why am I so this? Why am I so that? It's because the amount of calories that you take in is so low that it impacted your overall metabolism. So when you are, for example, following a weight loss program, you should be checking your numbers. You should be adjusting your numbers every 5 to 10 pounds or so, because again, you want to be constantly making adjustments. So when your body gets used to doing things, it doesn't really want to make any additional, it kind of goes into a plateau. For example, if you're doing the same exercises day in and day out, it gets boring. Your body hits a plateau. So you kind of want to do things differently. That should be the same concept when it comes to your nutrition. You should be kind of trying to switch things up as well. Okay. All right. So that is what TDEE is. So now why let's move to the next section. Why the weight times 12 rule can backfire is, again, because of metabolic adaptation. Our bodies are so smart, and our bodies tend to adapt to everything that's done to it, which is why, what's that show that people go on and they don't eat, or they got to eat bugs for like 30 days or 60 days or 90 days? What's the name of that show? I cannot think of that name, but I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. But these people, they naked and afraid. That's it. Naked and afraid. So they get dropped off into this, this wherever they get dropped off, and then they don't have any food. They pretty much have to fend for themselves. Our bodies tend to adapt to whatever's being thrown off or thrown at us, and it adapts by metabolic adaptations. Okay, and so, which is what we tend to call starvation mode, which is not something that you want your body to do, because that's when it tends to slow your metabolism down by having extreme low calories that is way off of what you probably should be taking in. So, for example, I know you all are familiar with The Biggest Loser, The Biggest Loser TV show. And you had a lot of people that lost a significant amount of weight. You say fear factor. Oh, no, they just eat anything. But yeah. With The Biggest Loser, they lost a lot of calories. They burned 500 plus less calories than which they should be taking in per day, and even years later. But the problem is, it was a study in 2016 that showed that 13 out of the 14 participants that participated in The Biggest Loser, not only did they gain that weight back, they regained a significant amount more. And again, it's because of that metabolic adaptation. Our bodies want to kind of get us back to, some people call it a set point theory. Some people call it homeostasis. They want to get you back to where you were. And that's why you kind of want to sneak in and steal a couple pounds here and there and then sneak out. If you do it too fast, you throw off all of these different alarm bells, and that's what causes the extreme weight gain. So another thing that happens that somebody mentioned earlier was thyroid. So when you are extreme dieting, it can definitely affect your thyroid hormone. So your thyroid is important for all types of regulatory functions in the body. It helps with your metabolism. It helps with your skin, hair, nails, all of those different things. And when you are extreme dieting, it can cause your thyroid levels to go completely off whack. Your T3, T4. So you definitely, especially if you've been extreme dieting, then you probably want to go in and get your thyroid checked, just to be on the safe side. Also, when you are extreme dieting, or you have not been taking in a significant amount of calories, what happens is you have this hormone called leptin, which decreases. So leptin is a hormone that helps you to feel full. It helps you to feel full. But when you are extreme dieting, don't you realize, or don't you ever notice that when you take in too little calories, you get really, really hungry, really hungrier than what you're normally used to being? Like, you get extremely hungry, and that's because it's that, again, that hormone is trying to get you to be hungry so that you can eat more, so that you can get the body back to where it was, due to the extreme dieting. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And then of course you have your cortisol, which increases. So when you extreme dieting, your body thinks that, I'm stressed, so I got to increase this stress hormone. And of course, when you increase that stress hormone, what comes with it? Belly fat. Okay, so if you have, belly fat, or belly fat that's protruding, that's where your fat storage is coming in at. Because again, these low hormone, or these low calories that you taking in, then sent off these alarm bells saying, oh, she's stressed, so we got to increase this cortisol, which increases your blood sugar levels, which of course tends to you storing more belly fat. Okay, so all of this happens as a result of extreme, or low calories. And then of course you have lower muscle. So you tend to lose muscle mass when you have extremely lower calories. And that's because muscle is more metabolically active than fat. And so if your body had to choose between, saving muscle and fat, it's definitely going to save fat. So fat is stored in case you need it for later. So muscle, however, because it's more metabolically active, your body is going to use that first as a source of fuel or a source of energy. Meanwhile, it's going to store that fat for later, which is why you have those people on Naked and Afraid that can go without eating for the most part for a few days, because they have the fat storage, right? So that's why it's okay for you to have, a certain percentage of fat on your body. You need it to help protect you in case something happens, right? So you need a specific amount of fat on your body. You don't need a whole lot, but you definitely need some. So of course, you're going to lose some muscle. So yeah, you losing weight, but you have to ask yourself, what am I losing? What weight am I losing? So we know the first to go is water. Then after that, you're going to start to lose muscle. And then after that, it's going to, depending on how low your calories is and how low it takes for your body, or how long it takes for your body to adjust, then it's going to dip into that fat, which is why weight loss is not a one size fits all approach. You need to be taking into consideration your calories, your body fat, or your BMI. I will probably go body fat. That's a little bit more accurate. You need to be taking into account all of those things, not just some number on a scale, or number that a personal trainer then gave you to say, oh, here, eat this, and this is what you eat, but it's the same number for everybody. Every last one of you, or us, we are all unique. And for that reason, we need unique numbers. Okay. So hopefully you all got that pointer. All right. So again, when you're taking in too little calories, you might start to lose weight at the very beginning, losing 20 pounds, 25 pounds, somewhere in there. But then after that, it's going to cause your metabolism to be negatively affected. You're going to be tired and moody. And then you're going to tend to gain weight because of the fact that you're going to be taking in less calories, but because your metabolism is lower than what it used to be, now you're going to start gaining weight. Does that make sense? I hope that kind of made sense. So again, your metabolism always adapts. That's what it does. When you lose weight too quickly, your metabolism always adapts to try to get you back to where you were. So you want to sneak in and get the weight off. All right, so now let's talk about that thyroid and hormones and why all of this type of stuff matters. So your thyroid is like your metabolic engine. Okay, so if you think about the engine in the car, okay, in order for the car to go, You got to have an engine. You got to ignite that engine. But when you have crash diets and stuff like that, it slows the car down. So instead of your car being able to go 70 miles per hour, now it's going 15. Okay. That engine is not functioning at the maximum capacity that it should be. Okay. So then you have your active thyroid or hormone T3 and of course T4. Both of those numbers drop significantly, which comes with, having extreme low calories or starvation. Then of course your cortisol levels, those levels increase, which causes which we know stress hormone is, or cortisol is being the stress hormone. And of course that's going to cause more belly fat. It's going to cause you to not be able to sleep as much, which causes more problems. And then it's going to increase those cravings, which cause even more problems. So all of those things are kind of compounded on top of each other for having these low calories. So one of the things that you can do to fix all of this is you don't want to go anywhere under 1,500 calories unless you have went and talked to your doctor and you're on like some type of medical plan and they're following along with you and checking your numbers. Like I had a client that was on like an extreme low diet, but they were going in weekly for like injections and blood work and stuff like that to make sure that they were on the right track. So if you're doing something like that, you need to make sure that you have, what's that on my shirt? Sorry, I just got sidetracked. So if you go in for something like that, you need to make sure that your doctors are monitoring you. And that's for both men and women. Okay. You need to make sure that you are being monitored. If you are if you've been on, let's say, extreme low calories for quite some time, then what you want to do is you want to try to have something called refeed days. And so that's when you want to try to take in, a few more calories than normal. Maybe you go back to a low calories, then you take in a few more calories. So you want to definitely do that. You want to try something called reverse cycling or reverse dieting. And that's just where instead of you taking in 1,200 calories or 1,500 calories every day, you try to reverse that by increasing your caloric intake, maybe by 150 calories a day and something like that. So you want to slowly, gradually get yourself back up to where you should be. You want to prioritize strength training. A lot of times you'll hear some women say, I don't want to lift weights. Weights is going to make me look like a man. They won't. They don't. Strength training helps to preserve that muscle. So muscle is like adding more wood to the fireplace. So it helps that metabolism burn a little bit higher, a little bit faster. So that's what weight training does. And it also helps you to look leaner and toner. So you definitely want to weight train. And then you want to prioritize sleep, water, and definitely managing your stress, because all of those things compounded with, these low calories can definitely cause some issues with that. So again, your thyroid is like the gas pedal to the car, and dieting is like hitting the brake real hard. When you do extreme dieting, that's like hitting the brake real hard. It's hard for the car, your thyroid, to go further or faster or to move forward when you are constantly hitting on the brakes, meaning when you are constantly extreme dieting. It's difficult for your thyroid to function properly. Okay. All right. So in the long run, you want to focus on something that's called the TDEE. You want to try to do that because that is a personalized, individualized approach to your overall calories or goals or whatever it is that you need. Okay. It takes into consideration you. It takes in consideration your age, your weight, your workouts, how much you sleep, your stress, and it updates as your body changes. So instead of you, for example, if you are 220 pounds and you want to be 120, instead of you eating 120 times 12 calories throughout the whole duration, TDEE allows your body to adjust as you adjust. So after you lose those first 10 pounds, your TDEE number is adjusted. And that's what helps you to get over those plateaus, because you're not eating the same number every single day for the next 6 months. Okay. Your body, or those calories, are adjusting as your body adjusts, as it should. So as you lose weight, your calories go down systematically as your body lose weight. You don't just start with no significantly low number and then you just hopefully try to get to that number. That's not how it works. Okay. And then it helps to prevent under eating, because you're sticking with what your body, where your body is at this particular time. Okay. So you want to start with small deficits, not extreme deficits. If you're 220 pounds, you're going to need some calories. Okay. You're not going to eat the same amount of calories that somebody that weighs 120 pounds are. okay, or is. I don't know whatever. So you're going to need some calories, and sometimes a person might say, "Ooh, that's a lot," and that's why you're having trouble losing weight. Okay, because you're not eating enough. You're thinking that, oh, I'm not losing weight, so I need to eat even less, or I need to eat even less, and that's the problem. You're significantly impacting your metabolism in a negative way, and that's why that weight is not going anywhere. Okay, so you want to try to alternate between fat loss, maintenance, as well as reverse dieting. So you want to try to get those things to go up and down. You want to eat more over time without regaining the weight. Okay, all right, so let me see what I have next. Make sure I got through all my notes. All right, so we already done talked about why TDEE or why the weight times 12 is a number that, or is a program that is not going to work for everybody, especially in the long term. And so you have to do something that's called, or that focuses more on your TDEE. And so on my website, if you go to my website, I have a TDEE calculator that's free, which is right here. And so it's going to ask you some information, like your age, weight, height, stuff like that, activity level, which is what it should ask. And then once you hit calculate, it's going to give you the amount of calories that you should be taking in. Okay. And then there's some information off to the side on my website about more relating to what TDEE is, and why it's important, and why you should be focusing on that, as opposed to just eating, regular random calories. So this is on the nutrition page of my website. So I also have custom plans that you can get that's based on your TDEE, or pre-designed nutrition plans, and every diet is different. Or every day is different, I should say. So yeah, I think that is, the more you know, the better, right? And if you are not, if you're just doing some random stuff based off of what somebody else is doing, then that's why you're really struggling. So again, if you want to lose weight successfully, figure out what your TDEE is, okay? Get your hormone levels checked and make sure that you don't have a severely underactive thyroid. Like something was going on with me a few years back where my thyroid is significantly, like it was 3 times, the number was 3 times higher than what it should be, which means that my thyroid was trying to really, really work. It was trying to work in overdrive, trying to get it to function. So you definitely want to get your hormones checked. Especially if you are, older men and women, get your hormones checked. Make sure that your calories are not too low. And, go to that website, get that TDEE number so that you can see exactly where you should be, roughly, to help you get right on the right path. Okay. So I hope that you all found this information TDEE. And the information is right here on my website. This is the calculator, the TDEE calculator, and like I said, it's free. You just punch your information in and it'll give you the calories that you should be taking in. Okay. And then some of you all are going to be in shock with the number that it gives you, because some of you are well below what you should be taking in. Which is, part of the problem. So hopefully that calculator will help you there. If you need my website, you can just click on the link in my bio and you will be able to find it there. And if you need any other help or anything like that, or if you have any other questions that you are curious about, you can always DM me or, put it in the chat and we'll go from there. Okay. So I hope that you found today's lesson helpful, useful, engaging. And again, if you need my help, you can DM me. Have a good night, everyone. I am really hoarse. This tea is so good. Whew.